I get what you're saying. I almost said something extremely rude when you said that there's a famous saying where you're from. I was like, Akuna Matata.
And we're live. How's it going, Scott?
I'm alive. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, let's just say the past 2 weeks for me has just been rah. There's just been so much work, especially as we're entering the new, financial year, starting in March with tax season and all of that coming up. So yeah, um, how's it been for you?
I've had my Microsoft certified Azure Solutions Developer certification for like, I think it's like going on 3 weeks now. I can't tell the difference. The market doesn't care. I almost blew my lid. Like this Becky or Heather, whatever you want to call them, they called me from this staffing company, and they're like, or staffing agency. They're like, hey, we're looking for a solutions developer for one of our clients. And I was like, well, yeah, I've been doing Azure for approximately 6 years. I'm now a Microsoft certified solutions Azure developer. I just butchered that. And she's like, yeah, but what was your last contract? Well, my last contract wasn't focused on Azure. It was focused on building tools. I was more of a software development engineer and test for approximately 4 months. Well, yeah, we need a solutions developer that works with Azure for their recent experience. I'm like, okay, but I've been working with Azure for over 6 years, and I have Microsoft. The people that invented Azure, they certified me to develop solutions for Azure.
Mm.
Yeah, but mm, if I come across other resumes that are relevant, given your experience, then I'll reach out to you again. I'm like, which part of me having a certification by Microsoft, the people that invented it, to do Azure
Yeah.
work, do you not think is relevant for this position that requires Azure architecture? She's like, okay, have a great day, Mr. Nimrod. I'm like, what the? I just started dropping F bombs after I hung up the phone, and I was upset, man. It took me
Yeah.
approximately 72 hours to just get over that conversation.
Mm. And you can see why people pad their resumes and put fake employments and things like that because these recruiters don't care. All they care about is can they convince the business to take you, and I think that's the perspective they are coming from. Anyway, speaking of businesses, what do you think about this new AI revolution? Recently it came out that a company created Devin, an AI software engineer that can read documentation, write code, fix code. What do you think about that? What's your thoughts on it?
I think they're all lies.
Okay.
That's the short answer. Uh,
Say more, say more.
I'm so over this AI hype. I'm over it. I am so over it. This is basically a reincarnation of a blockchain in which everybody's getting blue balls over blockchain, and they have no clue how it fits into their business model. I got a phone call like a couple of days ago saying they were looking for a solutions architect with AI experience. I'm like,
Oh man.
outside of data scientists with machine learning
Mm,
and game programmers that work for, what do you call it? It's something A. You probably know the name. The what was it, category A? I don't know what you call it. The your
triple
EA's,
A, triple A games.
yeah, within the AAA game industry. Like, who really is going to have AI experience between those two
True.
categories? And so, like, it's just an example of back in the day when people used to call or email me, like, do you have blockchain experience? All right. They don't ask me that question anymore. But now they're
Yeah.
asking, do you have AI experience?
But I would argue that it has always been that way, right? In the 90s, it was the internet, right? Oh, do you have experience building web applications? Do you, or then it was mobile, it was web, then it was mobile. Do you have mobile experience? Have you developed for mobile? And now it was blockchain, and from blockchain, we are now at AI. Um, I think that it's all lies. And in particular, it's the kind of lie that is very difficult to debunk. The lie that is sort of kind of true, right? That's what AI is to me. I've been playing around with it. I've looked at some of the models. I know how these things work. And this is where I'll have to give a shout out to Matthias Brainbender. This was in 2007, 2017 or 2016, where there was this F sharp mentorship program. I don't know if you remember.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he was my instructor. He was my mentor in during the F sharp mentorship program, and he did an excellent job of breaking down precisely what machine learning is, how it works, neural networks, all those kind of stuff. And he used F sharp to teach it. So I learned a lot from him, and I feel like even though maybe this is the Donny Kruger effect talking here, like I don't know, I'm not an expert, but at least I think I know the basics of it to get the gist of what AI is like. And I can tell you something for sure is that these things aren't magic, right? They are constructed in a lab, treated by using training data and so on and so forth. So there's always going to be a blind spot because machine learning models aren't creative. There is a video I will send you where I'll try and find it and clip it into this video, but it's about someone who was building an AI to play video games. All right. And he was able to use the AI to, beat human records in those video games. But one thing he pointed out is that the AIs themselves are not creative. And people seem to think that, oh, it's just a case of the technology not being there yet, that by the time we add more and more compute to this thing, AI is going to be just as creative as, regular human being developers. And I don't think that's the case. If anything, I think what I've seen so far, is pointing me in the direction of AI is never going to be creative. And an example of this is take what's this thing that does stable diffusion? I can't remember. This video producing AIs, right? Or picture producing AIs. Like they are all good at generating photorealistic images, but when it comes to figuring out that human beings have 5 fingers, that's a serious problem. you know.
Mm.
So they are not they have knowledge in the sense that they've seen a lot, they've crammed a lot of information, but they don't really understand how the information actually models the real world. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I mean, I have a difference of opinions. So I think a lot of creatures, right, on this planet are or pattern recognizing machines, right? We have stereotypes. We still have to deal with racism at some point because of those stereotypes, and it's kind of pre-programmed into us. I would say from an evolutionary perspective for safety. Um, and we don't really require massive experience or patterns over and over and over times a million in order for us to quickly make like snapshot decision judgment, right? Where an effective program does with a program being trained, it has to see, I would assume, probably more than 10,000 images of a car.
Mm-hmm.
Better to be 10 million, right? And then it's pretty accurate on identifying a car within a whole bunch of different scenarios. Uh, the point that I'm trying to make is I have reason to believe that machines are going to be more effective at making informed decisions, especially if we talk about the area of diagnosing.
Mm-hmm.
diseases within people or animals based on looking at, I don't know, a whole bunch of microbes or bacteria and doing pattern recognition based on all the data that's out there. Hopefully, that it can get access to. I don't know if it can due to privacy.
Yep.
I think it's just going to be faster and just better than us. And
Mm.
unfortunately, I think we're already being replaced. Um, our jobs are being replaced with voids until they can figure out how AI is going to play a part. The massive layoffs that have been occurring, I
Yeah.
think partially that's because of them trying to make a budget available to figure out how they're going to streamline AI into their organization. I hope I'm wrong.
I disagree. I don't think that's the case. I think the AI threat has always been there. I think what we are witnessing now is not necessarily most of the it's not necessarily due to it. Most of the companies that are firing people at the moment, they don't have any AI roadmap for the next 12, 24 months, right? And the reason for this is that the technology is not there yet. So I get the argument that eventually AI is going to replace a lot of jobs, but I don't think that that's the reason for the current set of like layoffs and the fact that many companies are not even rehiring to begin with.
So Meta, I think it's public knowledge that their original like flagship next generation platform that
Hmm.
was also called Meta as a product, that's pretty much like disposed of. And I thought that Zuckerberg was going to be focused on a groundbreaking AI platform that that is extremely helpful to their users, to their platform users. So they're already going all in on AI. Microsoft demonstrated that they're going all in by the check that they wrote to OpenAI.
Yeah.
Your Google's going all in. Does that really mean a one-to-one correlation with the layoffs? No, but I do think that companies are trying, and I'm also talking about small and mid-sized companies. They're all trying to figure out, just like Agile, how they're AI now, right?
Something.
And that really deserves another discussion. How we see patterns of everybody claiming Agile, and now everybody's trying to claim AI just for market. Like I don't understand how that is beneficial for people wanting to partner with them.
No, no. Put yourself in the shoes of any of these tech CEOs of these big companies, right? If you think about it, they are not in the business of making money. Making money isn't their goal. I think all of them to some extent are all profitable, right? But their goal is to maximize profit for their shareholders, keep their shareholders happy. So if you're Microsoft and you know that this AI thing is going to be a bust and stuff like that, and you choose not to signal that you are heading in that direction, right? You will get a no confidence vote from your shareholders and they are going to liquidate their positions in your company, which means you are going to lose money. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. So if Satya Nadella has already done the math and said, you know what, Microsoft shares is going to grow by this amount if we buy OpenAI or if we have a stake in OpenAI, because we're going to give the investors the illusion that by the time AI takes over, we're going to be a dominant player. You understand? The reverse incentives is what's happening to Google, right? Google is in a position where they've had this AI for years, almost a whole decade, and they sat on it. And the reason they sat on it was because the perception at the time was, oh no, you can't let Google have AI. Google are going to, they have all the world's knowledge. And if you're able to use AI to scan through that knowledge, we're all screwed and they could do surveillance and all those kind of stuff. So Google sat on the AI, right? But it wasn't until OpenAI came out as a crystallized threat that Google now felt, okay, now we can go ahead and push into this AI. And in fact, the fact that OpenAI came out, Google lost a lot of shares, a lot of stock in it, because the shareholders of Google are looking at, oh, maybe Google isn't going to be the leader of AI in the next generation, and they start selling off. And that sell off is more scary to those CEOs than following some hype that doesn't play off. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think there's going to be a sell off because a Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 business isn't adopting AI
I'm not telling
because of
you
FOMO.
I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what happened. That's what happened.
There
Google's
was a sell off of
There was a
Google
sell
share
of
owners.
Google's, yes, because apparently Google had dropped the AI ball and Microsoft and OpenAI had beaten them to the punch.
Okay.
That was why Google started scrambling to bring out Bard. Remember Bard? They had to
Hmm.
ditch Bard and switch over to Gemini, and that's the reason why they're doing all of this now. Is
I
because
thought they were the same thing. Those are two different things.
no, they are two different things. I
Okay.
think Bard was only available in the US as in beta or something, whereas Gemini is also available in other countries like Canada, for example. So the point I'm getting at is that if you're a tech CEO, right, you have no choice but to jump on the AI bandwagon because your shareholders expect you to do it. And if you don't do it, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. That's what's fueling the AI hype. I promise you, these companies are not stupid. They know exactly what this AI is capable of and what is not capable of, and they know that some of these promises that the AI companies are making are all bullshit. They know, but they can't help it. It's almost like the avalanche has started now, and they can't fight back against it. So they just have to play along, even though they are fully aware that this is not going to replace jobs. So, for example, one our friend John A.D. Goes, he mentioned something very very hilarious when they brought out the Devin software engineer, and they were saying how Devin is so great, how it can write its own code, how it can check documentation, write command line command, blah blah blah. They now asked, yeah, John Eddie goes now asked them that why don't they hire Devin? Why do they still need to hire? Because they had open positions for developers while claiming that they have created a virtual developer. That tells you that there's a disconnect somewhere. Something is not lining up, right? And
Yeah.
like I said, of all the AI models I've seen, I've tested all of them, and I noticed that they are excellent at most things, right? But there are some things that for some reason they just can't get. They like it can't sink into their mind that this is how this thing works, right? Like I mentioned the finger analogy. The second one is what they call it, signboards and posters or letters. Imagine an AI that's good at generating text like ChatGPT, right? It's good at generating images, but it can't generate a signboard. That tells you that what it has is not knowledge. What it has is something like mimicry. A good analogy I use is imagine you're about to fall asleep. Imagine a very brilliant person like a professor is about to fall asleep and you're asking him questions. You know, there is this moment where just before you fall asleep, where if someone is asking you questions, your brain doesn't do the normal checks. It just spits out whatever was stored in your ephemeral memory. So you may just bullshit your way in
Mhm.
that moment because you are just about to fall asleep. That's what these AIs look like to me, you know, because what they have is not really knowledge. They are confidently wrong, like somebody who's drunk or something, you know.
Yeah. Right now, it's just a lot of FOMO or fear of missing out,
Yeah.
and I'm over it.
Yeah, sure, definitely. There's no way the AI is going to take our jobs, at least not anytime soon. But what I do think will happen though is that the AI will transform the kind of jobs developers do, and the AI is going to eliminate a lot of the what's the right word, a lot of the jobs that were already at risk to begin with. So we're talking people who just came out of boot camp and they just get into a job and all they're doing is HTML, CSS or something like that. Sure, AI could affect them there, but when it comes to like engineering, building systems, no, that's not happening. At least it's not happening anytime soon. Now, okay, let me roll back because I know I talk a lot, so I'll try to slow down because this topic is getting me hyper. But so there's this $1 million question in computer science. I don't know if you know about it, the PMP problem. Are you aware?
You know.
Okay. So allow me to divert this conversation a little bit. So there are two. There are two kinds of problems, right? There are the P problems, which is I don't know the answer, but I can calculate the answer I can predict how long it will take me to calculate the answer. Those are P type problems. Then the MP type problems are I don't know the answer and I don't know how long it's going to take me to calculate the answer, right? Now,
Neither of
the
this is related to Alan Turing.
yes, it's kind of related to him. Yes,
Okay.
he was one of the persons. He was, I think he explained that there are some problems we just can't solve. No amount of computing is going to solve those problems because by definitions those problems cannot be solved. Anyway, I don't want to digress too far,
Okay.
but the reason I bring this up is that one of the big
Sorry.
prizes in yeah,
None of this is
yeah,
related to Turing complete.
no, it's not related to
Okay.
Turing complete. No.
All right.
Okay. So one of the things that one of the big what's the word now, one of the big discussions, or in fact it's a big problem in computer science, is if you can prove that the PNP dichotomy, if you think of the problem space of all possible problems, right, the P type problems are a subset of the NP type problems. Now, the theory is that if you can prove that all P type problems, that all MP type problems fall within the P type problems, then you if you're able to prove it mathematically, you get your $1 million and etc. etc. But the reality is that the reason I bring this up is that it could well be that many of the problems we thought are complicated problems that require creativity don't require creativity at all. And then for those set of problems, AI is going to clean house with those problems. But there might as well be, so right now the argument between those in favor of AI versus those against AI, the people who are saying AI will take all our jobs versus the people who are saying AI won't take all our jobs, is no side can convince the other side. No side can completely convince the other side that they're going to win, in the sense that for me to be able to say AI can't take our jobs, I need to be able to prove that job cannot be done by an AI. Does that make sense? I need to be able to prove that job requires some level of creativity for the AI to that the AI would not be able to simulate. Another example is they said that a thought experiment. Imagine there was a library of all the Chinese materials that have ever existed, right? And and you put someone who could read very fast into that library, and then you give the person an infinite amount of time, right? Would that person be able to answer all the Chinese questions you give them, even if they don't understand Chinese? Just by looking at the Chinese symbols and figuring out what the answer could be based on that and replying to you, right? The person doesn't necessarily need to know how to speak Chinese. The person just needs to know how to match the right questions with the right answers and stuff like that based on the knowledge, wealth of information the person has, which is what these AIs are doing. They aren't smart, they don't understand the language, but they have so much information at their disposal that we think that they understand these things. So now the real question here is that approach, are there going to be is that approach ever going to reach the level of proficiency that someone who actually understands Chinese can reach? Or is there a
I
ceiling to the
mean,
amount of knowledge? Yeah.
if you use the term ever, I would say yes. There's
Mm,
a number of factors that are involved. Um, there's a significant amount of problems that are predicated on human behavior and not based on physics
mm,
or just well, I'll just say physics because I can't think of other examples. So,
yeah.
for example, um, the stock market and developing a trading algorithm,
Hmm.
the game of poker, right?
Correct.
All
Yeah.
this is based on human behavior Humans tend to make irrational decisions in which you can hedge your bet that they're going to make decisions based on fear more than anything else. Uh,
Mm,
your AI, one, would have to be trained somehow to understand emotional roller coasters of a human being and the
mm,
society of human beings. Um, so that's one. Another factor is there's a difference between treating the symptom versus treating the root cause.
mm,
And your AI is likely to treat the symptom instead of focusing on the root cause. So an example would be presenting a business problem. I can't think of a good one off the top of my head, but presenting a business problem in which a junior or even a senior developer, their first thought is, all right, well, let me roll up my sleeves and let me bank out this code to
mm,
address this business problem. Your principal engineer or maybe staff engineer, they're going to say, I'm not sure if this requires code. Um,
mm.
I think this may just require uh, a different
Yeah,
way of leading the user to do something that we would like. Again, I can't think of a really good example, but there's some solutions that really just focus on revisiting the behavior that we want end users to leverage versus
mhm.
literally having to write code for a new feature. And
Correct.
make long story short, AI currently, I know for a fact, or I'm pretty confident, is not going to think at that level of whatever you ask it, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah.
Versus it, I'm not sure if self aware or being conscious is the right term, but it's saying, why would you even want that in the first place, given this, that, and the other? Why not, instead of going down this route and going through this rabbit hole, we just tweak this over here and introduce this over here. Thus, we don't have to have all this overhead in the first place. I don't think
Yeah.
your AI is going to mature to that point anytime soon.
Exactly. So a good example of this was in that video I talked about. I'm still going to put a clip of it if I can. Um, One thing that came out that was very, very fascinating was when he wrote the AI, he made the AI drive in reverse initially. All right. And somewhere along the line, he just forced the AI to drive in reverse initially. And what the AI figured out was, okay, for me to make progress, I have to keep reversing because every time I tried to accelerate, I was punished. So it kept reversing and it did that all the way to the end. Okay. Because of the data it was trained on. Whereas a human player would have at some point figured, you know what, maybe it's safe for me to break the rules here. I can just decide to break the rules for no reason. And if it had done that, it would have made um, even more progress than using reverse to drive through the entire track because the AI is not creative. The AI is looking at, okay, what are the things I've done? And was I punished for doing those things? And if I was consistently punished for doing them, the AI is not even going to attempt those things again. Whereas with human beings, right, we have the propensity to break the rules randomly, which the AI doesn't know upfront. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. I'm not going to debate you on that point, but
Yeah.
um, it's going to be interesting. I'm really over AI. I honestly, I, I welcome change. I also welcome responsibility.
Mm. Yeah.
As we grow older, we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
True. True. True.
I go inside stores and there's everything's kiosk now, right?
Mm.
With the employee just observing to mitigate who actually steals. So a lot of things are being automated. I don't think software development's going to be automated anytime soon.
Mm.
There are going to be maintainers of the AI. There are going to be auditors of the AI. But I think the majority of us, or the majority of industry, they're trying to create a reason to use AI, and I'm just not confident. I'm all about experimenting, but I just don't see AI being what people want it to be, which is a solve all. So, for example, you go to like MSDN, which is the Microsoft documentation, you'll see
Mhm.
on some of its documentation pages that that page was partially generated by AI. Right, that's one example.
Mm.
Um, and that might be fair, but I, I I just have a hard time believing that these job roles really require a unicorn with AI experience as well. And that's the part that's kind of getting frustrating.
Yeah. Well, what you could do is you could just, I don't know, get some minimal certification in AI and then bolt it on your CV and say you are into AI. Because let's be honest, right? This is an evolving field. Okay. So because it's an evolving field, there are no, I can bet you that there are no certified AI employees that have enough certifications to vet whether or not your AI certification is bogus. If you at least understand how the AI works and you're able to like do one or two things here or there with the AI, just put it in your CV. I'm serious. Put it in your CV, and then let us sit down, manu, and sit down and talk. And if you decide that, oh, I don't know anything about AI, then I will prove you wrong. I don't know if you get what I mean. You
Well,
don't.
that's the other
Yeah.
part. The other part
Yeah.
is all of a sudden there's this huge demand for AI. AI is really an umbrella of
Uh huh.
of different tool sets. So
Sure.
yes, 8 years ago there was a drive for machine learning,
Correct.
but it's nothing compared to today. And when people are asking for AI experience, you can debate me on this, but they're not asking for example, that the solutions architect role. And well, do you have AI experience? All right,
Hmm.
they're not asking, do I have machine learning experience? What everybody's
Mm.
asking is, do you have what is it? Large language models? Is it
Yeah.
LLM? Do you
Yeah.
have
LLMs.
LLM? Do you have generative AI like experience? That's what they're really asking. They don't. None of this, I would argue, has anything to do with machine learning or neural.
Neural
I don't
networks. Yeah.
neural networks. None of that.
Again, like I
And there's
said,
no
right?
books written on this. There's probably research papers
Yeah. Yeah.
um, at,
So
at your Ivy League schools. There's technical journals that are written by like PhDs, but there's no published books on it. So like, how do people get LLM experience? And the answer is,
listen,
I'm listening.
listen. There is a very, very, I'm Igbo from south side of southeast Nigeria. And we have a saying, yeah? And the saying goes like this: Koni man die, Koni man bury am, right? That means if you are a conny individual and you deceive, you go like you're known for deceiving people. When you do die and someone needs to plan your funeral, it's also a deceptive person that's going to do your funeral for you. That means I don't know how to translate it, but the point I'm getting at is if you're going to put rubbish, bogus titles in your requirements for the job, I'm going to put the same rubbish, bogus titles in my CV, and both of us are right. Like, you get what
Mm,
I mean? That's how I see it, right? If you're going to say you need AI, LLM, I'm just going to play around with LM Studio, try a little bit of learning models, integrate it in a pet project, and tell you that I have experience. And I do have experience with it. And then let's see who's lying, right?
yeah,
So that's how I see it. Because what tends to happen is that, when they're coming up with these requirements, somebody's just sitting down that is not even a technical person saying, put AI there. We have plans for AI in future. You understand? Put AI there. We want someone who has an idea of AI. If you're going to do that, then it's open game. I'm going to put AI in my CV. And yeah, let's see how you will find out that I don't know anything about AI. Especially if I have played around with it in my pet project, right? I have something to point to. I'll show you a GitHub link. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, if you want to play that game, we play the game. That's how I see it.
I get what you're saying. Almost said something extremely rude when you said that there's a famous saying where you're from. I was like, Akuna Matata. Anyways, that shows my ignorance. But
Yeah. Anyway, so point I'm getting at is yeah, if they want to play that game, we play that game. That's how I see it. But that said, I have been, toying with the LLMs in my spare time. I don't need to, but I've just been doing it out of just sheer curiosity. And it was eye opening, right? It's not until when you see some of the things these large language models do, it looks like magic. You're like, oh my God, wow. But if you really start debugging the thing, you're like, ugh. How many times have you seen a very popular application, maybe a large scale app that people are using, and then you go through the code and you're like, really? Did you really? Is this how this thing works?
yeah,
Really?
I hear stories about like from ex Microsoft developers. I hear stories about how the behind the scenes the code base is like atrocious, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So when you so that sobering comes when you start playing around with these LLMs, when you start playing around with the responses of the LLMs. So you give it a prompt, you get a response back, and you're able to debug the response and figure out that, oh, it wanted to say this thing, this, it had these 4 5 things it wanted to say, and just used statistics to pick this particular word. So while you're looking at the word on the outside thinking, oh my God, this thing must have some kind of knowledge to be able to form sentences like this, it's just probability. It's always, everything is just probability. That's it. So that helps to disabuse your mind of any magical thinking, which is what's going on in the industry right now, unfortunately. You know,
It's probability as opposed to what?
it's just probability. That's all it's doing. So
That's how
for
we
every,
operate.
that's how who operates.
That's how we
They
operate.
no, okay. I would say yes, but I don't even think we understand ourselves enough to say that that's the case. For example, let's do a thought experiment. Let's say you have your left and your right hand. You can perform this experiment at home. Just hold up your left and your right hand, and then randomly decide which one you want to open. But don't open it yet. Just
Okay.
wait a bit, and then just decide which one you want to open. So do the
Okay.
same as well. You've opened yours, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I asked you, why did you pick your right hand? Why didn't you pick your left hand? You could have as well just picked your left hand. So why did you pick your right hand?
I would say because I'm right-handed and I'm just biased.
But that did that thought go through your mind? You just opened your right hand.
Subconsciously, I this one was like me. Right? So I would assume that because I'm right-handed, I do most things with my right hand. It's only natural. So
So, but I'm also right-handed, but I opened my left hand, right?
mhm.
So my point is not, the point I'm getting at is that we don't even understand ourselves enough to know precisely why we do the things we do. It is just as it is just as shocking to us that we make certain decisions as it is to other people, right? Have you ever done something and been like,
So
okay,
I don't think it's as simple as you're declaring. So
okay,
there's a concept of muscle memory. There's a
yes,
concept of habits,
mm-hmm,
right? And there's the concept of probability. So, for example, before you were married, right?
mm-hmm,
Most people, you see a pretty girl, you're automatically hedging your bets on what's the likelihood that she's even worth approaching, right?
okay,
Majority of people, that's one example of probability. Another probability is you're a high school student or a college student. You really can't afford to drive. You can't afford car insurance. You can't afford a lot of things, but you got to get to work. So you had your bets on when's the best time to get in this car and illegally go to where I need to go, and what's the best street I could take so that I could avoid the police. Right? Probability.
mm,
Right?
let me push back there,
Okay,
right? Maybe I think my analogy doesn't really hit the point home, so I'm going to try again.
sure.
Let's put it this way. Have you ever just been sitting down and a random thought just popped in your mind? Just random, just popped in your mind.
Yeah, when I'm driving or when I'm in the shower, the daemon threads
Good,
start running.
good. Now, that random thought, you don't have any control over which thought pops into your mind like that. That's what I mean. In the
Okay,
sense that you don't control it. The best you can do is put the environment, make the environment available for those thoughts to come in. But which specific thoughts show up, you don't know.
okay,
That's the point I'm getting. Yeah, that's the point I'm getting at. That's the subconscious there. Is that we don't even understand where our own thoughts come from. It appears in our mind just as mysteriously as it vanishes sometimes. That's what I mean.
I
Like
can
we don't
understand.
have any control of it. Yeah. So that's the point I'm getting at, in the sense that for us to say that, oh, we are all probabilities, that even we don't fully understand how our brains work to be able to say yes, it's definitely probability, or no, it's not probability. Because if you think about it, right, there was 50% chance that I will open my left hand or my right hand. So at any given point in time, when I did open my hand as the left hand, there is no debugging in my brain to say this thought led to this thought led to this thought led to this thought. That's why I picked left.
You don't know that, and there's a reason why I'm saying that.
But exactly. Hold on. You saying that I don't know that is my point, in the sense that I don't know the mechanism at which it came about. You get what I mean? Like if I knew, I would be able to simply tell you, oh Scott, I thought about this and the temperature was exactly this, and the breeze just blew, and I've been opening my left hand since morning. Like those are like build ups to the decision. But I'm saying that even those build ups, we don't know where they come from. Like we can't take a single decision and break it down into the component sub decisions that led to that decision. That's the point I'm getting at.
Okay, I think I
Yeah,
can understand that.
yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. So I think this is a very good place to stop. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, if you have more conversations on AI, let us know. And yeah, we read all your feedback. We listen to everything.
No, you got to edit this part because
Okay.
we got to touch on. I've run into it on a couple of applications where you got to. They're asking you to opt in or opt out of their AI algorithm uh, assessing your application based
Mhm.
on their criteria. And I'm like, I don't know if I should opt in or opt out. I feel like I'm going to be penalized if I opt out.
Mm.
But I guess you haven't looked for a job, so you're not familiar with it.
Yeah, yeah. Personally, I would opt out.
Basically, your HR is somewhat being replaced by AI, right? It's making the decisions on which job applicants are worthy of an interview and who's not,
Yeah,
which goes back to, well, just play the game and lie on your resume.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, man.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, that's it. So I think we're currently at 503 subscribers. It is what it is.
it is what it is. We keep moving regardless. Like I've started to learn that just focusing on the journey and not and don't worry about the outcomes. Just focus on the journey, right? We show up every week, every 2 weeks. We record, we post it there. It gets views, it doesn't get views, doesn't matter. As long as we are putting genuine efforts into enjoying this moment of having conversations, reasoning things out, it's going to, don't worry about the outcomes. Let's not worry about the outcomes. And that's my philosophy now, is do the work, don't worry about the outcomes.
So, on that
Yeah.
note, it's been real.
All right, man. Take care. Bye.
So,